I am Sarah Chen, 32, a software engineer in Seattle. My phone buzzed 17 times in 3 minutes while I was debugging code at 2 a.m. Each notification made my chest tighter. The last time I got this many messages at once, someone had died. But this time, it was worse. My sister had posted something on Facebook, a photo from 20 years ago that I'd buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself it never happened. There I was, 11 years old, standing outside our house in the rain while my family celebrated my brother's birthday inside. The caption read, "Found this cleaning out mom's attic. Some memories deserve to stay buried. Sorry, Sarah." Before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something about being the invisible child. It's not just about being ignored. It's about being erased, one small moment at a time, until you start to believe you were never really there at all. I grew up in a beautiful 2-story house in Bellevue, the kind with perfectly manicured lawns and a white picket fence that screamed, "Happy family," to anyone driving by. My parents, David and Linda Chen, were the success story every immigrant family whispered about at church. Dad was a cardiologist at Swedish Medical Center. Mom ran a real estate agency that sold million-dollar homes to tech executives. My older brother Michael was their golden child valedictorian, violin prodigy, early admission to Harvard Medical School. My younger sister Amy was the baby, the artist, the one who could make everyone laugh. And then there was me, Sarah's, our quiet one. Mom would tell her friends when they came over for tea, "She's not like Michael or Amy, she just exists." That word exists became my identity. I existed in the spaces between my siblings' achievements. I existed in the corner of family photos, slightly out of focus. I existed in the way you notice a piece of furniture only when you stub your toe on it. The first time I realized I was different was on my 8th birthday. Mom had promised to take me to the Space Needle because I was obsessed with astronomy. I'd been counting down the days, circling the date on my calendar with a purple marker, my favorite color that no one else seemed to know. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to an empty house. There was a note on the kitchen counter. "Sarah, we had to take Michael to his chess tournament. There's cereal in the pantry. We'll celebrate when we get back. Mom." They came home at 10 p.m. Michael had won first place. They'd gone to his favorite restaurant to celebrate. Mom handed me a cupcake from the grocery store, still in its plastic container. "Happy birthday, sweetie. Maybe we can go to the Space Needle next weekend." We never went. That became the pattern. My celebrations were afterthoughts. My achievements were footnotes. When I won the school science fair in 5th grade, building a working model of the solar system that actually lit up, Dad glanced at my trophy and said, "That's nice, Sarah. Did you remind Michael about his SAT prep class? She just doesn't shine like the others." I once heard Mom tell my aunt on the phone, "Michael and Amy have that spark, you know. Sarah's just ordinary. Ordinary. Quiet. Exists." I started believing it. When teachers asked me questions, I'd give the shortest possible answers. When kids at school tried to befriend me, I'd pull back, convinced they'd eventually realize I wasn't worth their time. I learned to make myself smaller, quieter, more invisible. If you don't take up space, you can't disappoint anyone. The worst part was the photos. God, the photos. Every Christmas, Mom would orchestrate these elaborate family portraits. She'd spend hours coordinating our outfits, positioning us just so. But somehow, I was always slightly off. In one, I'm blocked by Mom's perfectly styled hair. In another, the lighting makes my face a shadow, while Michael and Amy glow like angels. In my favorite or least favorite, depending on how you look at it, I'm actually missing entirely. "Where's Sarah?" my cousin asked one Thanksgiving, flipping through the album. "Oh, she must have been in the bathroom," Mom said without even looking up. "You know how she is." But I hadn't been in the bathroom. I'd been standing right there holding the camera. The birthday parties were their own special kind of torture. Michael's birthdays were event-catered affairs with themes and guest lists that read like future Ivy League rosters. Amy's were magical princess parties and art studio takeovers that made every kid in her class jealous. Mine were forgotten until the last minute, thrown together with whatever was left over. On my 11th birthday, the one from the photo my sister posted, they forgot entirely. I'd woken up that morning expecting nothing, which was my first defense mechanism. But even I couldn't help the tiny spark of hope when I smelled bacon cooking downstairs. Maybe this year would be different. The kitchen was decorated with streamers and balloons. A homemade banner read, "Happy 14th birthday, Michael," in Mom's perfect handwriting. "Morning, Sarah," Dad said without looking up from his newspaper. "Don't eat too much breakfast. We're having a big lunch for your brother." "It's my birthday too," I whispered. Dad's newspaper rustled. "What?" "Today, November 15th. It's my birthday too." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom dropped her spatula. Dad finally looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment I thought I saw something like shame in his eyes. Then it was gone. "Don't be ridiculous," Mom said, recovering quickly. "Your birthday is next month." "No, it's..." "Sarah, we don't have time for your games today. It's Michael's special day. Go get dressed." I stood there, 11 years old in my dinosaur pajamas that were too small because no one noticed I'd grown, and felt something inside me break. Not dramatically, not all at once, just a quiet little snap, like a rubber band that's been stretched too many times. The party was beautiful. Michael's friends filled our backyard. There was a 3-tiered cake with perfect fondant and his name in gold letters. I watched from my bedroom window as they sang "Happy Birthday," and he blew out 14 candles. No one noticed I wasn't there. Around 4 p.m., it started to rain. Not a gentle Seattle drizzle, but a real downpour. The party moved inside, and I slipped out the back door. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I stood in the rain long enough, I'd finally disappear completely. Maybe I just wanted to feel something, even if it was just cold. Amy found me an hour later, shivering behind the garden shed. She was only 7, but she looked at me with eyes too wise for her age. "It's your birthday too, isn't it?" she asked. I nodded, unable to speak through chattering teeth. She pulled a fun-sized Snickers from her pocket, probably stolen from Michael's party favor bag sand, handed it to me. "Happy birthday, Sarah." That's when Mom appeared with her camera. "Amy, what are you, Sarah? What are you doing out here? You're soaked." But instead of bringing me inside, she lifted her camera. "Actually, hold on. The lighting is interesting, very artistic." Click, that was the photo. Me, 11 years old, soaking wet, standing outside while my family celebrated inside. Mom titled it "November Rain" in her photo album. Like it was some kind of artistic statement instead of evidence of her forgetting her middle child existed. The formative moment, the one that really shaped who I'd become, happened 2 years later. I'd just turned 13, and for once, I decided to advocate for myself. I wanted a birthday party. Nothing fancy. Just a few friends from my science club, pizza, maybe a movie. "Mom," I said, finding her in her home office surrounded by real estate flyers. "Can I talk to you about my birthday?" She said, not looking up. "I was thinking maybe I could have a small party this year? Just 5 or 6 people?" She sighed, finally meeting my eyes. "Sarah, you know November is busy. Michael has his debate championships, Amy has her art show, and I have 3 closings that week. It doesn't have to be on my actual birthday. Maybe the weekend after, sweetie." She used that tone, the one that meant she was about to say something that would sound caring but feel like a knife. "Do you really have enough friends for a party? I'd hate for you to be embarrassed if no one shows up. You know how you struggle with social situations." I didn't struggle with social situations. I'd been trained to disappear in them. "Never mind," I whispered. "That's my practical girl," she said, already turning back to her computer. "Besides, some people are meant to be the center of attention, and others are meant to be supportive. You're such a good supporter, Sarah." "That's your gift." My gift was invisibility, apparently. The irony was that I excelled at everything I touched. My grades were perfect, not that anyone noticed since Michael's were too. I taught myself to code at 12, built websites for fun, created programs that solved complex problems. But when I showed Dad my first app, he patted my head and said, "That's nice, sweetheart. Can you help Michael with his college essays? He's applying to Johns Hopkins." I wrote those essays. Michael got in. At his graduation party, he thanked everyone except me. "You're so lucky," my best friend Emma told me once. "Your family seems perfect." I laughed so hard I cried. Or maybe I just cried. It was hard to tell the difference anymore. The thing about emotional neglect is that it's insidious. There were no bruises to show, no dramatic stories of abuse to tell, just 1,000 tiny cuts that left me bleeding internally while everyone admired our family's Christmas card. "Why don't you speak up more?" teachers would ask. "You clearly know the answers." Because I'd learned that my voice was background noise. "Why don't you put yourself out there?" guidance counselors would suggest. "You have so much potential." Because I'd been taught that my potential was worth less than my siblings' reality. "Why don't you ever come to family game night anymore?" Amy asked one evening when I was 16. Because every game ended the same way, with Michael winning, Amy being praised for trying, and me being forgotten halfway through. I found solace in my computer. Code didn't care if I was ordinary. Algorithms didn't need me to shine. In the digital world, I could build entire universes where I mattered. I spent hours learning programming languages like other kids learn TikTok dances. Python, Java, C++, these became my friends, my escape, my proof that I existed. When I got accepted to the University of Washington's computer science program with a full scholarship, I thought things might change. I'd achieved something undeniably impressive, something that was mine alone. UW is a good safety school, Mom said when I showed her the acceptance letter. But are you sure you don't want to wait a year? Michael might need help with his residency applications. It's not a safety school, I said quietly. Their computer science program is ranked in the top 10 nationally. Of course, sweetie. I'm sure it's perfect for you. The way she said perfect for you made it sound like good enough for someone like you. At my high school graduation, as I walked across the stage as salutatorian, Michael had been valedictorian, naturally. I scanned the crowd for my family. Michael was there, checking his phone. Dad was there, video recording on his tablet. Amy was there, sketching in her notebook. Mom was there, talking to another parent about Michael's Harvard success. None of them were actually there for me. That night, at my graduation dinner, which was really Michael's coming home from Harvard dinner that happened to coincide with my graduation, Mom made a toast. To Michael, our shining star who makes us proud every day. To Amy, our creative soul who brings beauty into the world. And to Sarah, she paused, wine glass raised, searching for words. To Sarah, who is also here. Everyone laughed like it was a joke. I smiled like I was in on it. Inside, I was screaming. But the deepest cut came later that evening. I overheard Mom talking to her sister in the kitchen while I was putting dishes away in the dining room. "I sometimes wonder if we did something wrong with Sarah," Mom said. "Michael and Amy are so vibrant, so accomplished. But Sarah, she's like a ghost in this family. Always lurking in the corners, never quite fitting in." "Linda, that's harsh," my aunt replied. "Is it though? I love all my children, but I can't help feeling like Sarah was meant for a different family. Somewhere quieter, less ambitious. She just doesn't have that Chen fire, you know." I stood there, holding a stack of plates, feeling my heart shatter into pieces so small I'd never be able to put them back together. I wasn't just invisible. I was a mistake, a genetic anomaly, a ghost haunting a family that wished I'd never been born. I set the plates down silently. I'd perfected the art of moving without sound and went to my room. That night, I made a decision. If I was going to be a ghost, I'd be gone. I threw myself into college with a fury that surprised everyone, including myself. I lived in the computer lab, survived on energy drinks and determination, and built things that made my professors take notice. For the first time in my life, I was seen for my work, not my invisibility. But holidays meant going home. And home meant disappearing again. "Sarah's doing something with computers," Mom would tell people when asked about me. "We don't really understand it, but I'm sure it's..." "Oh, nice." Meanwhile, every family gathering featured a PowerPoint presentation of Michael's surgical achievements and Amy's latest art exhibition. I once offered to show them a program I'd designed that was being implemented by Boeing. Mom scheduled it during dessert, then forgot to serve dessert. The pattern continued through college, into my first job, through every milestone I achieved. I graduated summa cum laude. My family didn't attend because Amy had a recital. I got hired by Microsoft straight out of college. The announcement was overshadowed by Michael's engagement. I was promoted to senior developer at 20 Faveno. One remembered to congratulate me because Mom was busy planning Michael's wedding. At that wedding, I gave a speech I'd written and rewritten a dozen times. I talked about growing up with Michael, about how he'd always been the star we all orbited around. Everyone thought I was being sweet. No one heard the pain underneath. Sarah's always been so supportive, Mom told the other guests. She knows her role in this family. My role, the invisible daughter, the forgotten middle child, the ghost who somehow kept breathing. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 months ago. I was in the middle of a code review when my phone lit up with Amy's contact photo one, where I was, predictably, half cropped out. Sarah? Her voice was strange, tight. Are you sitting down? My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? No, everyone's fine. It's just, I'm cleaning out Mom and Dad's attic. They're downsizing, moving to that new condo downtown, and I found things. Things? Photos, documents. Sarah, did you know Mom kept a journal? I almost laughed. Of course she did. Probably full of Michael's achievements and your artistic milestones. No, Amy's voice cracked. It's about you. All of it. Every entry. 20 years of entries about you. The world tilted. That's impossible. Can you come over? Please? I think we need to talk. I left work early, something I never did. The drive to my parents' house, they'd given it to Amy when they decided to downsize, felt both endless and too short. My hands shook on the steering wheel. What could Mom have possibly written about me? Documentation of every time I disappointed her? A catalog of my ordinariness? Amy met me at the door, her eyes red-rimmed. Without a word, she led me to the living room where boxes covered every surface. In the center of the coffee table sat a stack of leather-bound journals, a photo album I'd never seen, and a manila envelope marked Sarah Important in Mom's handwriting. Start with this, Amy said, handing me a journal marked 1992, Sarah's first year. I opened it with trembling fingers. Mom's familiar handwriting filled the pages, but the words were foreign. March 15, 1992. Sarah smiled today. Really smiled. Not like Michael's practice smiles or Amy's performative ones. Sarah's smile is pure light. It terrifies me. David says I'm being ridiculous, but I see it she's special in a way that could eclipse everything we've built. What if she outshines Michael? What if she makes Amy feel inferior? I love her so much it hurts, but I can't let her destroy the balance. I have to protect them all, even if it means. The entry stopped there, but others continued the theme. June 2, 1995. Sarah taught herself to read. She's 3, Michael couldn't read until 5. I found her with one of his books, sounding out words like she'd been doing it forever. I took the book away and told her it wasn't for her. The look on her face broke my heart, but it's for the best. Michael needs to be the smart one. It's all he has. November 15, 1999. Sarah's teacher called. She wants to skip Sarah ahead 2 grades. Her test scores are extraordinary. I declined, told them she's too socially immature. Really, I just can't let her surpass Michael. He'd never recover. I'm saving them both. August 10, 2003. Found Sarah's hidden notebook today. She's been writing stories, beautiful stories that make Amy's artwork look like child's scribbles. Had to throw it away. Amy found it in the trash and asked why. I told her Sarah had thrown it away herself. The lie tasted like poison, but Amy's confidence is too fragile. Sarah is too strong. She'll survive this. She has to. I couldn't breathe. Page after page revealed a systematic campaign to dim my light. Every forgotten birthday, every ignored achievement, every moment of invisibility, it had all been deliberate. There's more, Amy whispered. She handed me the photo album. Inside were pictures I'd never seen. Me winning the science fair, Mom had told me the photos didn't turn out. Me performing in the school play, I'd been told no one remembered to bring a camera. Me at various ages, always achieving, always shining, always captured in moments before they were erased from family history. She documented everything, Amy said. Every single thing you did, she photographed, wrote about, saved. But she hid it all. She made you invisible on purpose because she thought you were too much, too bright, too everything. The final blow came from the manila envelope. Inside was a letter, dated just 6 months ago. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm either dead or finally brave enough to face what I've done. There's no excuse for it. No justification that makes it right. I sacrificed you to save your siblings from feeling inferior. But all I did was destroy 3 children instead of 2. Michael never learned to truly excel because he never had real competition. Amy never developed resilience because she never had to try. And you, my brilliant, shining daughter. I turned you into a shadow. You were reading at 3, solving complex math problems at 5, writing poetry that made me weep at 7. Your teachers called you gifted, exceptional, once in a generation, brilliant. And I buried it all because I was terrified. Terrified that Michael would crumble. Terrified that Amy would give up. Terrified that our perfect family image would shatter if one child so obviously outshone the others. I told myself I was protecting everyone. Really, I was protecting my own ego. I needed to be the mother of 3 successful children, not 1 extraordinary child and 2 ordinary ones. So I made you ordinary. I forced you to be less so they could be more. The birthday I forgot, November 15th, 2003, I remembered. I had your cake in the car, presents in the trunk. But when I saw Michael's friends arrive for his party, saw how happy he was to be the center of attention, I couldn't do it. I couldn't let you have even that one day. That photo I took of you in the rain, I keep it on my nightstand. A reminder of my cruelty, my failure, my sin. You survived despite me, thrived despite my efforts to contain you. But I see the damage. The way you make yourself small, the way you accept crumbs when you deserve feasts, the way you've internalized invisibility as identity. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I only want you to know that every achievement I ignored, I celebrated in private. Every milestone I overlooked, I documented here. Every moment I made you feel worthless, I knew your worth and feared it. You are not ordinary. You never were. You are extraordinary. And I am the monster who tried to convince you otherwise. Mom, I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Then I ran to the bathroom and vomited until my throat burned. Amy held my hair back, crying as hard as I was. I didn't know, she kept saying. Sarah, I swear I didn't know. When I could speak again, I asked, does Michael know? I haven't told him. I wanted to talk to you first. And Mom? Dad? They're in Hawaii for 2 weeks. Their anniversary trip. Of course they were. Even this revelation had to happen in their absence. I spent hours going through the boxes. Every report card saved, every award hidden, every photo tucked away, evidence of a childhood I'd lived but never been allowed to claim. Mom had even saved the code from my first programming project, printed out and annotated with notes. Sarah created this at age 12. Self-taught, brilliant logic and structure. Must never let her know how special this is. What are you going to do? Amy asked as the sun set. I looked at her, my baby sister who'd gotten to shine because I'd been forced into shadow. I don't know. How do you confront someone for stealing your entire childhood? For making you believe you were nothing when you were everything? With the truth, a voice said from the doorway. We both jumped. Michael stood there, still in his scrubs, holding a box of his own. You knew? I whispered. He sat down heavily, suddenly looking older than his 35 years. Not everything, but some. Dad told me once, when I was drunk after failing my boards the first time. Said I should be grateful, Mom protected me from having to compete with you. That you could have destroyed me academically if she'd let you. And you never said anything? What could I say? Hey Sarah, sorry Mom and Dad deliberately sabotaged your entire childhood so I could feel smart. He rubbed his face. I'm not proud of it, but I benefited from it. My whole identity was built on being the smart one. Finding out it was a lie, that I was only the smart one because they kept you in a cage. It fucked me up. But not as much as it fucked you up. We sat in silence. 3 siblings surrounded by evidence of a family built on lies. She's going to deny it, Amy said finally. Or minimize it. Say we're misunderstanding. No, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. She's going to face it. Every single bit of it. Michael and Amy exchanged glances. They'd never heard me sound so certain, so present, so visible. The reunion, Michael said suddenly. The big Chen family reunion next month. Everyone will be there. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. All the people she's been lying to for decades about her perfect family. Sarah? No, Amy breathed. That's nuclear. I thought about 11-year-old me, standing in the rain. 13-year-old me, being told I didn't have enough friends for a party. 21-year-old me, graduating without my family there. 25-year-old me, promoted to senior developer with no one to celebrate with. Good, I said. It's time for some nuclear truth. The Chen family reunion was scheduled for December 15th, exactly 1 month after my birthday. The irony wasn't lost on me. Once again, my birthday would be overshadowed by a family event, but this time, I wouldn't be invisible. I threw myself into preparation with the same intensity I applied to coding. I digitized every piece of evidence, organized it chronologically, created a presentation that told the story Mom had tried to erase. Michael and Amy helped, adding their own perspectives and memories. I remember this, Amy said, looking at a photo of me at 8, holding a trophy. You won the district spelling bee. Mom said you were sick and couldn't go to regionals. But you weren't sick, were you? No, I confirmed. She told me I was being selfish, wanting to compete when Michael had a piano recital the same day. I failed that recital, Michael admitted. Forgot half the piece. Mom blamed it on performance anxiety. Maybe it was guilt. We uncovered more lies. The summer camp for gifted kids I'd been accepted to, Mom had told them I'd developed severe allergies. The early admission to UW I'd been offered at 16, she'd declined without telling me. The internship at Google I'd gotten my junior year, she'd convinced me to turn it down because family comes first and Amy needed help with her college applications. Jesus, Michael muttered, reading through Mom's journals. She even sabotaged your relationships. Remember Kevin? That guy who really liked you in college? I remembered. Sweet, smart Kevin who'd asked me out repeatedly until I'd convinced him I wasn't interested. She told him you had a boyfriend, Michael continued. Showed him fake photos of you with some random guy from her real estate office. Said you were too shy to reject him directly. The violations piled up, each one a brick in the wall she'd built around me. But with each revelation, I felt something shifting. The cage was already broken. I'd broken it myself by surviving, by thriving despite her efforts. Now I was just documenting the damage. 2 weeks before the reunion, I called my therapist Yes. I'd finally gotten one after years of Amy begging me to talk to someone about my self-esteem issues. How are you feeling about all this, Doctor? Martinez asked. Like I'm finally waking up from a 20-year gaslighting campaign, I said. Like I've been living in someone else's story and just figured out I can write my own. And what story do you want to write? I thought about it. One where I matter, where my achievements are celebrated, where I'm not a supporting character in the Michael and Amy show. What if your family doesn't receive it well? Then they'll finally see me anyway, even if it's as the villain in their story. At least I'll be visible. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Sarah, I need you to understand something. What your mother did, it's a form of abuse. Emotional neglect, systematic undermining, intentional invisibility, these leave scars just as deep as physical abuse. You're not wrong to be angry. You're not wrong to want acknowledgement. But make sure you're doing this for you, not for them. Their reaction, their acknowledgement, their apologies, you can't control those. You can only control your truth. I nodded, understanding. I'm not doing this to hurt them. I'm doing this to heal me. The night before the reunion, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my computer, reviewing the presentation one more time. 40 slides documenting 40 moments of erasure. It wasn't comprehensive, that would take hours, but it was enough. Enough to shatter the image of the perfect Chen family. Enough to demand visibility. My phone buzzed. A text from Amy. Are you sure about this? Then one from Michael. I've got your back. It's time. And finally, unexpectedly, one from Kevin, the college boyfriend who wasn't. Hey, I know this is random, but Amy reached out and told me everything. I just wanted you to know I really did like you. Still think about you sometimes. Good luck tomorrow. I smiled, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not just support, but belief. People who saw me, who knew I was worth seeing. The reunion was being held at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel downtown, in a ballroom Mom had rented for the occasion. 100 relatives would gather to celebrate the Chen family success story. 3 generations of overachievers coming together to applaud each other's accomplishments. I arrived early, while the hotel staff was still setting up. I'd volunteered to help with the AV equipment finally. My tech skills were useful for a family event. I connected my laptop to the projection system, tested the slides, made sure everything was perfect. This had to be flawless. I wouldn't give them any technical difficulties to blame for not seeing me. Sarah? I turned to find my grandmother, my Nai, standing in the doorway. She was 85, sharp as ever, the matriarch everyone feared and respected. Nai? I said, bowing slightly. You're early. She studied me with eyes that had seen revolution, immigration, reinvention. You look different. Do I? You look here, present, like you finally arrived at your own life. My throat tightened. Had she known? Had she seen what Mom was doing all those years? I have something to show everyone today, I said carefully. Good, she said simply. It's about time. Then she walked to the front row and sat down, folding her hands in her lap like a queen waiting for court to begin. By 2 p.m., the ballroom was full. Relatives I saw once a year mingled with champagne and dim sum, catching up on promotions and pregnancies, degrees and developments. I stood by the AV table, invisible as always in my simple black dress. Mom hadn't even noticed I was there, too busy directing the photographer to get shots of Michael with his new chief resident badge and Amy with her gallery opening announcement. Welcome, everyone. Mom's voice rang out as she took the microphone. She looked perfect, as always. Ivory silk dress, pearl necklace, not a hair out of place. I'm so happy to see our beautiful family together again. As you know, the Chen family has always valued achievement, excellence, and supporting each other's dreams. I almost laughed at the last part. This year has been especially wonderful, Mom continued. Michael has been promoted to chief resident at Johns Hopkins. Amy's art is being featured in galleries across the West Coast. And David's practice has expanded to 3 locations. She paused, scanning the room like she was looking for something. Her eyes passed over me without recognition. We are so blessed to have raised successful, confident children who know their worth and place in this world. That was my cue. I stepped forward. Actually, Mom, I'd like to add something to that. The room turned. 100 faces registered surprisino at the interruption, but at my existence. I saw cousins trying to place me. Aunts whispering to ask who I was. Mom's smile flickered but held. Sarah! Of course. Everyone. Our middle daughter Sarah is here. I'm more than here, I said, taking the microphone from her unresisting hand. I'm a senior software engineer at Microsoft. I lead a team of 12 developers. I hold 3 patents for encryption algorithms. I volunteer teaching coding to underprivileged kids. And until very recently, I believed I was ordinary. The silence was deafening. I prepared something, I continued, moving to the laptop. A presentation about the Chen family. The real Chen family. The one you haven't seen. Sarah, Mom's voice was warning honey. I don't think. You never think I should speak. I cut her off. That's the whole point. I clicked to the first slide, a photo of 3-year-old me reading a medical textbook. This is me at 3. I taught myself to read from Michael's books. Mom told everyone I was developmentally delayed to explain why I was so quiet. Really, she was taking my books away and telling me they weren't for children like me. Click. 5-year-old me with a dismantled computer. This is me at 5. I took apart Dad's computer and put it back together. It worked better afterward. Mom told Dad I'd broken it and Michael fixed it. Michael was 8 and couldn't tie his shoes yet. Click. 8-year-old me at the spelling bee, district spelling bee champion. Mom told the regionals I was sick. I wasn't. She didn't want me competing the same day as Michael's piano recital. The recital he failed because he'd spent the week playing video games instead of practicing. Sarah, stop this. Mom's voice was sharp now, the honey crystallizing into glass. Why? I asked. Because it's embarrassing? Because it ruins the image? I clicked to the next slide, her journal entry about deliberately dimming my light. Or, because it's true? Gasps rippled through the room as relatives read her handwriting blown up on the screen. I heard my aunt whisper, "Linda, is that?" "Let me tell you about being the invisible child," I said, finding my rhythm. "It's not benign neglect. It's active erasure. Every achievement minimized, every talent hidden, every moment of pride stolen before it could shine." I clicked through slide after slide. The birthdays forgotten, not just overlooked, but deliberately ignored. The accomplishments buried. The systematic campaign to make me believe I was nobody special. Do you know what it's like to win awards and have your mother hide them? To write stories that make teachers cry and find them in the trash? To score in the 99th percentile on every test and be told you're good enough? To exist in a family where your only role is to be less than your siblings? Click. The photo from my 11th birthday, me in the rain while the party continued inside. "This is what invisible looks like," I said. "Standing outside in the storm while your family celebrates without you. Being told your birthday is next month when it's today. Being gaslit into believing you're forgettable when really, you're being forgotten on purpose. Enough." Mom stood up, her perfect composure finally cracking. "You're humiliating this family." "No," I said calmly. "I'm illuminating this family. There's a difference." "You ungrateful." She caught herself, aware of the audience. "We gave you everything. You gave me nothing." The words exploded out of me, 32 years of silence breaking like a dam. "You gave Michael pride he didn't earn. You gave Amy confidence she didn't have to fight for. You gave me invisibility and called it love. We protected you." Dad finally spoke, standing beside Mom. "You don't understand the pressure of being exceptional. We saved you from that burden." I laughed, actually laughed. "Protected me? You buried me alive and called it shelter." Click. Mom's letter, her confession blown up for everyone to read. "But don't take my word for it," I said. "Take hers." I watched Mom's face drain of color as she recognized her own handwriting. The room was silent except for the sound of people reading, occasionally gasping at particularly damning sentences. "I turned you into a shadow. I made you ordinary. I am the monster who tried to convince you otherwise." "This is taken out of context," Mom said weakly. "What context makes this okay?" I asked. "What context justifies stealing a child's entire identity? Making her believe she's worthless? Training her to accept invisibility as her natural state?" "You're twisting everything." Her voice rose, the perfect mother mask finally slipping. "I did what was best for this family. Michael needed to be the smart one. Amy needed to be the creative one. You were too much. You would have destroyed the balance." There it was. The truth, naked and ugly in front of everyone. "So you destroyed me instead," I said quietly. "You seem fine to me," she snapped. "Look at you. Job at Microsoft, making good money, independent. What more do you want?" "I want my childhood back. I want the birthdays you stole. I want the achievements you buried. I want the identity you murdered and buried in the backyard of your perfect family image." "Drama queen," she muttered. But the damage was done. Everyone had heard her admission. "You want to know the worst part?" I asked, addressing the room now. It worked. I believed her. I made myself small for so long that I forgot I could be big. I accepted crumbs and called them feasts. I let people overlook me because I'd been trained to be overlooked. I clicked to a slide of my recent achievements, the ones she didn't know about because she'd never asked. But despite her best efforts, I survived. I threw myself into the one place where invisibility was impossible code. In the digital world, your work speaks for you. You can't hide brilliance in clean logic and elegant solutions. I built things that mattered because I needed to matter somewhere. "We're very proud of your little computer job," Mom said, trying to regain control. "My little computer job involves leading the development of encryption software that protects millions of people's data. My little computer job pays more than Dad's practice. My little computer job has my name on patents that will outlive everyone in this room. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Because you never asked. Because Sarah isn't supposed to shine." Michael stepped forward. "It's true. Everything she's saying, I knew some of it. Dad told me. Said I should be grateful Mom protected me from having to compete with Sarah. That she could have destroyed me if they'd let her." The room turned to him, their golden boy confirming the ugly truth. "I benefited from it," he continued. "My whole identity, my confidence, my success, it was all built on Sarah's suppression. I'm not proud of it, but I can't deny it anymore." Amy joined him. "I found the evidence, the journals, the photos, the documentation. Mom recorded everything Sarah did, every achievement, every moment of brilliance. Then she hid it all. She made Sarah invisible because she was too visible, too bright, too everything." "You're all being dramatic," Mom said, but her voice shook. "I did what any mother would do. I protected my children. You protected your ego." Nai spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the weight of matriarchy. "I watched you do it. Watched you dim one light so the others could flicker. I said nothing because I thought you would see the error, but you never did. You convinced yourself it was love. It was fear. Fear that your perfect family wasn't perfect. Fear that one child's brilliance would reveal the other's ordinariness. Fear that you weren't the mother you pretended to be." Mom turned to her mother, betrayal and shock warring on her face. "You knew? We all knew something," my uncle said quietly. "The way Sarah was always in the background. The way you talked about your 2 talented children when you had 3. We just didn't want to see it. Because it was easier," I said. "It's always easier to ignore the uncomfortable truth, to believe the pretty lie, to accept that some children matter more than others. Well, I'm done being easy to ignore." I clicked to my final slide. It was a recent photo at my desk at Microsoft, surrounded by my team, holding an award for innovation. I was smiling, really smiling, visible and vibrant and unapologetically present. "This is who I am when I'm not being erased," I said. "This is Sarah Chen, not the ghost you made me, but the person I made myself. And I'm done pretending I don't exist to make you comfortable." I set down the microphone and walked toward the door. Behind me, the room erupted in chaos, voices raised, accusations flying, the perfect Chen family image shattering like expensive china. "Sarah, wait," Mom called out. I turned back one last time. She stood there, designer dress wrinkled, perfect hair mussed, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "What?" I asked. "You've ruined everything," she whispered. "No," I said. "You ruined everything. I just showed everyone the damage." I didn't go home after the reunion. Instead, I drove to the waterfront and sat on a bench, watching the ferries cross Puget Sound. My phone buzzed incessantly, calls, texts, voicemails. I turned it off. For the first time in my life, I'd said everything I needed to say. Now I needed silence. The sun was setting when Michael found me. "How did you know I'd be here?" I asked as he sat beside me. "You mentioned it once, said you came here to think," I remembered. We sat in silence for a while, watching the water turn gold in the dying light. "Mom's having a meltdown," he said finally. "Dad's trying to do damage control. The ants are gossiping. Nai told everyone to shut up and think about what they'd enabled. It's a lot." Good. Amy's fielding calls from cousins who want to know if it's all true. Some of them are sharing their own stories. Apparently, cousin Jennifer was told not to apply to MIT because it would make her brother look bad. Aunt Grace's daughter was pushed out of pre-med because her parents wanted her brother to be the doctor. Jesus. Yeah, you kind of opened Pandora's box. Turns out our family has a pattern. I looked at him, my big brother who'd gotten everything while I got nothing. "Do you hate me for this?" "No," he said without hesitation. "I hate myself a little, for knowing and doing nothing, for benefiting from your pain, for being too comfortable as the golden child to question why I was golden. It wasn't your fault. You were a kid too. But I'm not a kid now. And I've watched you disappear at every family event for the past decade. Watched mom dismiss you, dad ignore you, everyone treat you like furniture. And I said nothing because it was easier. He rubbed his face. Do you know why I really failed my boards the first time? I shook my head. Because deep down, I knew I didn't earn my spot. Knew I was only there because my brilliant little sister was locked in a cage. The imposter syndrome was eating me alive. Then I passed the second time and convinced myself I deserved it. But I've always known, Sarah. I've always known I was living your life. You're a good doctor, I said. That's yours, not mine. Maybe. But the confidence to become one? The belief that I was special? That was built on your bones. We watched a seagull dive for fish, successful on its third try. What happens now? I asked. I don't know. The family's in chaos. Mom's threatening to cancel Christmas. Dad's trying to pretend nothing happened. Amy's talking about family therapy. And you? He smiled sadly. I'm thinking about that 11-year-old girl standing in the rain. Wondering how different we'd all be if mom had just let you shine. My phone, powered back on, immediately lit up with notifications. I scrolled through them, noting the family members reaching out, some supportive, some angry, some just confused. But one stood out. It was from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Patricia Liu. Sarah, you don't know me, but I work at Microsoft too. I was at the Fairmont for a different event and saw your presentation through the open doors. I've been where you are, the invisible daughter in a family that needed me to be less. I just wanted to say, you were magnificent. Visible and magnificent. I read it 3 times. Tears finally coming. Not tears of pain or anger, but of recognition. Of being seen by someone who understood. Look, Michael said, pointing to his phone. The family group chat is exploding. I caught glimpses of the messages. How could Linda do this? We need to talk about how we raise our daughters. Sarah was right about everything. This family needs to face some hard truths. And from Amy? Sarah's not answering her phone. I just want to make sure she's okay. She was so brave today. Braver than any of us have ever been. You should talk to her, Michael said. She's really torn up. Feels guilty for not seeing it sooner. It's not her fault either. She was the baby. She got to shine because I was forced not to. That's not on her. Tell her that. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had carried me through the confrontation was fading, leaving behind a bone-deep weariness. I'm going home, I said. My home. I need to process all this. Sarah? Michael called as I stood to leave. I'm proud of you. I know that doesn't mean much coming from me, but I am. You did something I never could have done. You refused to stay invisible. I managed a small smile. Thanks. And Michael? You're enough. Even without the golden child crown. You're enough. The drive home was quiet, my mind replaying the afternoon in fragments. Mom's face when I'd taken the microphone. The gasps as people read her journal entries. The moment she'd admitted the truth that I was too much and would have destroyed the balance. My apartment felt like a sanctuary when I finally arrived. I decorated it myself, filled it with things that made me happy, plants I'd kept alive, art I'd chosen, books that hadn't been hidden from me. It was small but mine, a space where I'd always been visible. I made tea and curled up on my couch, finally ready to face the messages. There were dozens, but I started with Amy. I'm okay, I texted her. Just needed space. We can talk tomorrow. Her response was immediate. I love you. You're the bravest person I know. Mom's wrong. You're not too much. The rest of us were too little. Over the next few hours, I fielded calls from relatives I barely knew existed. Cousins who'd been at the reunion shared their own stories of feeling sidelined. Aunts admitted they'd noticed my absence but hadn't wanted to interfere. Even some of Mom's friends reached out, saying they'd always wondered why she talked about having 2 children when they knew she had 3. But the most surprising call came around midnight. Sarah? The voice was broken, barely recognizable. It's Mom. I almost hung up. Instead, I said, what do you want? To apologize, to explain, I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. You know what you did, yes. A shaky breath. I know what I did, I just don't know why I kept doing it. At first, it made sense in my head. Michael was struggling. You were so naturally brilliant. I thought I was balancing things. But then it became, I don't know, a pattern, a habit, a lie I told so often I believed it. You destroyed my childhood. I know. You made me believe I was nothing. I know. You stole my identity and gave it to my siblings. I know. She was crying now, ugly sobs that part of me had wanted to hear for years. But they brought no satisfaction, only a hollow ache. I know what I did, Sarah. I see it now, all of it, laid out in front of everyone. I see the girl in the rain. I see the achievements I buried. I see the light I tried to extinguish. And I see that it didn't even work. You shone anyway. You became extraordinary anyway. All I did was make it harder and make myself a monster in your story. You're not a monster, I said quietly. Monsters don't keep journals full of regret. Monsters don't document what they're destroying. You're just a mother who was so afraid of imperfection that she created something worse. Can you ever forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. Maybe someday, but not today. Today I just need to be angry. Today I need to be visible in my anger. I understand, she paused. Your father wants to talk to you too. He says he didn't know, but he did. He knew and chose comfort over truth. Just like everyone else. Yes. We sat in silence, connected by the phone but separated by decades of damage. The family wants to have a meeting, she said finally, to discuss everything. Will you come? No. I've said what I needed to say. If the family wants to discuss their enabling patterns, they can do it without me. I'm done being the teaching moment. Sarah, I need to go, Mom. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not fighting to be seen. I love you, she whispered. I know you don't believe me, but I do. I loved you so much I was terrified of you. That's my failure, not yours. I hung up without responding. Some words come too late to matter. The next few weeks were a blur of therapy, work, and avoiding family gatherings. I heard through Amy that Mom had started seeing a therapist, that Dad had admitted to his complicity, that the extended family was having hard conversations about favoritism and the damage it does. But I wasn't ready to be part of those conversations. I was too busy discovering who I was when I wasn't defined by invisibility. I started speaking up in meetings at work, sharing ideas I'd previously kept to myself. My manager, surprised by my sudden visibility, fast-tracked me for a promotion. I always knew you were talented, she said. But I had no idea you were this innovative. Why haven't you been speaking up? Old habits, I said, I'm breaking them. I joined a writing group, started sharing the stories I'd hidden for years. The feedback was overwhelming. People loved my voice, my perspective, my ability to capture the feeling of being unseen. You write like someone who's been observing life from the margins, one member said. It's powerful. I even started dating. Really dating, not just accepting whoever noticed me. I met someone at a coffee shop, a teacher named David who laughed at my jokes and asked about my work with genuine interest. On our third date, he said, you have this way of being completely present but also holding something back, like you're testing if it's safe to be fully seen. I'm working on that, I admitted. Take your time, he said. Visibility is vulnerable. I get it. 3 months after the reunion, Amy convinced me to meet her for lunch. We sat at a waterfront restaurant, watching seaplanes take off and land. How are you? She asked, really looking at me. Visible, I said. Uncomfortably, wonderfully visible, she smiled. It suits you. You look, I don't know, like you're taking up the right amount of space for the first time. How's everyone else? Adjusting. Mom's a mess, honestly. The perfect mother image is shattered, and she doesn't know who she is without it. Dad's trying to support her while also reckoning with his own enabling. Michael's in therapy, dealing with survivor guilt or golden child syndrome, or whatever you call it when you realize your success was built on someone else's suppression. And you? I'm angry, she said simply. Angry that I benefited from your pain. Angry that I didn't see it. Angry that our parents created this dynamic where my art could only flourish if your light was dimmed. It's fucked up, Sarah. The whole thing is fucked up. Yeah, it is. I've been thinking about that birthday, she continued. The photo. You in the rain. I was 7, but I knew something was wrong. I gave you that candy bar because even then, I could see you disappearing. But I didn't know it was deliberate. I thought you were just shy, introverted. I didn't know you were being erased. You were a kid. It wasn't your job to know. Maybe not, but I'm not a kid now, and I want you to know I see you. I've always seen you, even when I didn't understand what I was seeing. You're my brilliant, brave, visible sister, and I'm sorry it took so long for everyone else to see it too. We talked for hours, rebuilding a relationship that had been twisted by our parents' dysfunction. She showed me her latest artist series about family dynamics and hidden truths. I shared my coding projects, explaining them in ways she could understand. For the first time, we were just sisters, not the creative one and the invisible one. As we were leaving, she said, "Thanksgiving is next week. I know you're not ready for the whole family, but maybe just us? You, me, Michael? No parents, no extended family, just the 3 of us figuring out who we are without the roles they assigned us?" I thought about it. Okay, but I'm cooking. I'm tired of being served other people's versions of nurturing. She laughed. Deal. But fair warning, Michael can't cook for shit without Mom's instructions, so he'll probably bring store-bought pie and call it homemade. As long as he admits it's store-bought, I'm fine with it. I'm done with lies, even the small ones. That Thanksgiving was quiet, awkward at times, but real. We talked about our childhoods from our different perspectives, the golden child, the creative child, the invisible child. We compared notes on Mom's manipulation, Dad's passive compliance, the extended family's willful blindness. But we also talked about the future, about who we wanted to be without those labels. I'm thinking of leaving medicine, Michael admitted over pie that was, indeed, store-bought. Not because I don't love it, but because I need to know if I love it for me or because it was assigned to me. I'm considering teaching, Amy added. Using art to help kids express things they can't say. Maybe if we'd had that outlet. Maybe, I agreed. But we can't live in maybes. We can only move forward. Speaking of moving forward, Michael said. Mom and Dad want to know if you'll come to Christmas. Just immediate family. They want to. I don't know. Start over? Apologize properly? Dad used the word reconciliation. I set down my fork, appetite gone. I'm not ready. That's fair, Amy said quickly. You don't owe them your presence. But, I could hear the but in her voice. But Nai will be there, and she specifically asked for you, said she has something to tell you, something about Mom's childhood that might explain things. Not excuse them, but explain them. I sighed. Nai had been the only one to acknowledge the truth at the reunion. If she had pieces to this puzzle, maybe I needed to hear them. I'll think about it, I said. Christmas Eve arrived with the kind of crisp clarity that made Seattle beautiful. I sat in my car outside my parents' house, Amy's house now, but my parents were staying there for the holidays trying to decide if I was really going to do this. My therapist had said I didn't owe anyone closure but myself. That reconciliation was a choice, not an obligation. That I could decide what relationship, if any, I wanted with my family going forward. But Nai had called me herself the night before. Sarah, she'd said in Mandarin, there are things you need to know. Stories that were hidden from you, just as you were hidden. Come, listen, then decide. So here I was, visible in my invisibility, sitting in a car outside a house full of memories I'd rather forget. Amy met me at the door. You came? I almost didn't. But you did, that's what matters. She hugged me tightly. If it gets too much, we leave, both of us. I've got your back. The house smelled like pine and cinnamon, Mom's signature Christmas scent. Everything looked the same, the perfectly decorated tree, the precisely wrapped presents, the family photos on the mantle. Except now I noticed the photos included me, recently printed and carefully framed. Too little, too late, but acknowledgement nonetheless. Mom stood in the living room doorway, looking smaller than I remembered. The past months had aged her gray roots, showing through her usually perfect dye job, lines around her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. Sarah, she said, her voice careful, Thank you for coming. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Dad appeared behind her, equally diminished. The commanding surgeon replaced by an uncertain man who'd realized his complicity too late. We're glad you're here, he said. We have a lot to discuss. To apologize for. To explain if you'll let us. I'm here for Nai, I said clearly. Not for apologies or explanations. I'm here because she asked me to come. They flinched but nodded. Nai sat in the armchair by the fireplace, regal as ever. She patted the seat beside her. Come, child, sit. I sat, feeling like I was 8 years old again, seeking comfort from the one person who'd always seen me clearly. Your mother, she began without preamble, was once the invisible child too. The room went still. Mom made a sound protest or pain. I couldn't tell. Tell her, Nai commanded. Tell her the truth you've hidden, or I will. Mom sank onto the couch, suddenly looking very young. My parents, your grandparents, Sarathe, had 4 children. Your Aunt Grace, your Uncle James, me, and David. David? I'd never heard of a David. My younger brother. He was brilliant, a prodigy. He could do calculus at 8, spoke 5 languages by 10, played piano like a professional at 12, and she swallowed hard. I was ordinary. Struggling in school, average at music, unremarkable in every way. So my parents made me invisible to protect the family image. The Zhangs couldn't have one extraordinary child and one failure. So they erased me. My chest tightened. What? Different methods, same result. They sent me to live with relatives during David's important events. Told people they had 3 children. Forgot my birthdays because they were too busy celebrating his achievements. I have a photo almost exactly like your Smay standing outside during his piano recital, watching through the window. So you knew? I said slowly. You knew exactly what you were doing to me because it had been done to you. I thought I was protecting you. The words burst out of her. David died at 15. Car accident. And my parents fell apart because they'd put everything into him. Their golden child was gone, and they didn't know who I was. I was a stranger at my own brother's funeral. I swore I'd never do that to my children. I'd make sure they all had identities, roles, places in the family. So you recreated the exact same dynamic? I said, understanding and fury warring in my chest. You just shuffled the roles. I thought if everyone had a defined space, no one would be invisible. Michael the smart one, Amy the creative one, you the what, Mom? What was I supposed to be? She broke down completely. I don't know. You were everything. Smart and creative and kind and funny and so blindingly brilliant I couldn't figure out where to put you. So I made you nothing. God, I made you nothing. The cycle continues. Nai said quietly. Pain passed down like heirlooms. Each generation thinking they're fixing the last one's mistakes only to create new ones. I failed your mother, she failed you. The question is, what will you do differently? I looked at my grandmother, this woman who'd watched it all happen twice. Why didn't you stop it? Because I was invisible too, she said simply. In my generation, in my culture, women disappeared by default. I thought your mother's generation would be different. When I saw her repeating the pattern, I told myself it was temporary. That she'd see what she was doing. By the time I realized she wouldn't, the damage was done. It's not done, Mom said desperately. Sarah, please. Let me try to fix this. I know I can't give you back your childhood, but… No, I interrupted. You can't fix this. You can't unerase 20 years. You can't retroactively celebrate the birthdays you forgot or acknowledge the achievements you buried. What's done is done. Her face crumpled. But, I continued, surprising myself, maybe we can do something different going forward. Not fixed, not healed, just different. What would that look like? Dad asked quietly. I thought about it. I don't know. Honest, maybe. Visible. A family where everyone gets to be everything they are, not just what fits the narrative. Where Michael can explore who he is without the golden child pressure. Where Amy can be brilliant and creative. Where I can be seen without being too much. Yes, Amy said immediately. I want that. Me too, Michael added. I'm tired of being perfect. It's exhausting. I don't know how, Mom admitted. I don't know how to be a mother without controlling the story. Then learn, Nai said sharply. You're not dead yet. Learn to see your children as they are, not as you need them to be. Learn to celebrate without comparison. Learn to love without limits. We sat in silence, the weight of generations of invisibility pressing down on us. I'm going to tell you something, I said finally. And I need you to just listen. Not fix, not apologize, not explain. Just listen. They nodded, so I told them. Everything. What it felt like to grow up gaslit. How I'd internalized worthlessness so deeply that I still struggled to accept compliments. The way I'd sabotaged relationships because I couldn't believe anyone would choose to see me. The nights I'd lain awake wondering what was wrong with me that my own mother couldn't love me properly. The therapy, the work, the daily battle to believe I deserved to exist fully. I talked until my throat was raw, and they listened. Mom cried silently. Dad's hands shook. Michael and Amy held space for my pain without trying to minimize it. When I finished, Nai spoke. The tragedy is not that you survived despite the invisibility. The tragedy is that you had to. But you did survive. You built yourself from shadows and became light. That's your victory, Sarah. Not their recognition, not their apologies, your survival. I know, I said, but I'm tired of just surviving. I want to thrive. And I need to know if I can do that with you all in my life or if I need to do it alone. Please, Mom whispered, let us try. I know I don't deserve it, but please. I looked at her. This woman who'd broken me and shaped me in equal measure. Who'd loved me wrong but loved me nonetheless. Who'd been broken by her own invisible childhood and passed that break to me like a cursed inheritance. Conditions, I said. Therapy. All of us, individually and together. No more family photos where I'm positioned as an afterthought. No more introductions where you mention 2 children. No more hierarchies of achievement. When I accomplish something, it gets celebrated without being compared to what Michael or Amy are doing. When I speak, you listen like my words matter. When I exist in a room, you see me. Yes, she said immediately. All of it. Yes. And Mom, I added, you have to stop calling my job little or cute or dismissing it as computer stuff. I'm a senior engineer at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. I lead teams, I build things that matter, I make more money than Dad. You don't have to understand it, but you have to respect it. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't want apologies tonight, I said. I want change. We managed dinner, awkward but present. Mom asked about my work, really asked, and tried to understand when I explained. Dad admitted he'd been Googling my patents, trying to comprehend what I'd built. Michael talked about his uncertainty about medicine, and for once, Mom didn't try to convince him to stay. Amy shared her teaching plans, and Dad offered to help her set up a nonprofit for art therapy. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments where old patterns emerged, Mom starting to compare our salaries, Dad defaulting to asking Michael's opinion first, everyone forgetting to include me in a story. But each time, someone caught it, called it out, corrected course. After dinner, I helped Mom clean up while the others talked with Nai. We worked in silence until she said, that photo, the one of you in the rain, I've looked at it every day since Amy found it. It haunts me. Good, I said, not unkindly. It should. I told myself I was capturing an artistic moment. But really, I was documenting my cruelty, preserving the evidence of what I was doing to you. Like part of me knew it was wrong and needed proof. Maybe that's the part of you that can learn to do better, I suggested. The part that knew I mattered even when you were pretending I didn't. She handed me a wrapped box. I know you said no apologies tonight, but I got you something, not an apology. Just acknowledgement. Inside was a photo album, but instead of family photos, it was filled with everything she'd hidden. Every achievement, every award, every moment of brightness she'd buried. And at the end, a letter. Sarah, this is not an apology. You said you didn't want those tonight. This is a reckoning, evidence of who you've always been, who I tried to stop you from being, who you became anyway. You are not too much. You never were. The world was just too small for your light, and I made it smaller. That's on me, not you. I can't undo the past, but I can promise that from now on, I will see you. Not the ghost I created, not the role I assigned, but you. Sarah Chen, my daughter. Brilliant, visible, and finally free to be everything you are. Mom, I closed the album, something shifting in my chest. Not forgiveness that would take time, if it came at all, but maybe the beginning of something new. A crack in the wall where light could enter. Thank you, I said. She nodded, understanding that I meant for the album, for listening, for trying. Not for the years of invisibility, but for the possibility of visibility going forward. When I left that night, I felt different. Not healed, but hopeful. The past was still there, the forgotten birthdays, the buried achievements, the systematic erasure of my identity. But so was the future. A future where I didn't have to fight to be seen. Where I could exist fully without apology. Amy walked me to my car. How are you feeling? Like I'm learning to be visible, I said. It's uncomfortable, but necessary. For what it's worth, she said. I see you. I've always seen you. And you're magnificent. As I drove home, I thought about cycles and inheritance, about pain passed down through generations like poisoned heirlooms. I thought about my mother, invisible in her own childhood, making me disappear in turn. But the chain stopped with me, and for that, I was deeply grateful. I am Sarah Chen, and I finally understand what Eleanor meant about diamonds forming under pressure. The girl who stood in the rain, watching her family celebrate without her, grew into a woman who refuses to be invisible. The daughter they forgot became the person they could never ignore. And I'm not lost anymore.